Good afternoon, everybody. Today is the 16th of January 2017. I'm going to be going over a few trade ideas for this week. Remember, with all trade setups, you have to obviously wait for those entries, and risk management is key. Make sure that you size yourself in properly so you can allow yourself to be wrong a little bit in order to be winning on a decent entry. So for the first one on this week, I'm looking at RYI. The chart broke the 200 SMA on the daily, also pulled back a decent amount on this fib retracement. With the volume that's coming out of it, I would expect to see a continued move to the downside. So what I'd look for is a pushback somewhere into this range here, which gives me some resistance from this zone. What I'd like to see is obviously that zone come back into play here and continued move to the downside. Now I'm picking up a trend on the daily. If you look further out, picking up a trend here that could serve as some sort of support all the way down to this $10 range. So I do think that the chart can provide a nice trade-in setup, push back up to this $12.50, 30 cents range, and could have another nice pull to the downside. Next on this week's list is TEP. The reason why I'm up in this chart here is because the chart is breaking over a downtrend line with increase in volume and a nice bullish engulfing on the daily. So the chart does whip around quite a bit, so you'd have to be, you'd have to probably be swinging this one for a couple days in order to capitalize on a better move with it. But I'd like to see a pullback and a retest of this trend line here, putting me somewhere right into this area here, somewhere about $47 and I would say $47.80 into that range over here for a possible, obviously, continuation move all the way up to this top end at about 49.50, somewhere around there. I'm also looking at AIRG. Now this is a chart that I do like trading because it does have a lot of range in it when it decides to move. It is a low float, and so with the volume that came into it on Friday's session, test over this pivot areas puts me into a buy area. So what I'd like to see is a move back over 1650 in order to take it on the long side and possibly hold it for a couple days and see if I can get it back up into this $20 range. TLP, another chart with a flag and a possible test for a breakout here on the daily chart. So the chart is flagging. It does trade lower volume, so it may be something that you want to hang on to for a couple days instead of just day trading it. But if the chart was to break over this high, then it does, if it comes over this area high, which is Friday's session high, then it does trigger a nice little upside. Could have potential for a good 4 or 5 points to the upside if the chart holds that area, that breakout area. ZEN. So this chart, if you fib the entire move, puts you at a good 50% retrace right where the 200 SMA is currently sitting, also right where a gap fill would be. So what I'm looking for in this one is I'd like to see a pushback right up into this $25.80 range, and then try to see if I get some top in and take it for a short, obviously if it doesn't break through that range. And for that short, I would definitely be interested in holding it a couple days if I can see rejection at that 200 SMA for sure. NEWR. This chart setting up for another test of a breakout here. The volume to the buy side have been slowly dying off, and what I'd like to see is I'd like to see the chart push up to this range. I'd like to see this chart push up to the test, which should put me right about in the $33 range, and then I'd like to take it on a short, being that the fact that the buyers are not showing up here as much. So if the chart was to push up to that $33 range, I'd be looking for a short, obviously risking that trend line as an area for a stop out. Next on the list is NGVC. This chart, I gotta bring it out a little further out so you can see what I'm looking at. This chart is finally coming through its 200 SMA on the daily. Now that being said, it's also flagging some volume is coming in. It's definitely a chart that I'm looking at here. A close for me over about 1350 would be something I'd be very interested in. It may be something that you hang on to for a little bit to see if that 200 SMA can actually prove to be a nice continuation move to the upside. But for right now, the chart closed at 1301. The 200 SMA is at 1297, giving you a small pullback at the open for a possible play and a possible move over 1350. There, I think if the chart was to close over that range, I'd be interested in hanging on to it for a couple days and see if it's worth anything more to the upside. AMBR, small trade here. It's a small chart, but it could prove to be something that's obviously profitable. Chart is testing against this downtrend here. Nice strong green Maribozu candle with some volume coming in. Support obviously to this pivot candle down at the bottom at 847. So what I'd look for is a nice little pullback on it, somewhere closer to about $9 for a long entry, risking obviously that low pivot. Last one, GRVY. It's a nice curled flagging chart here. It trades very thin volume for right now, excepting obviously when we did have those couple big explosive moves. The way that the chart is curled up here though, I'd like to see this one for a continuation to the upside. There's a small little trend that needs to get broken here. That means that a chart over $11.70 puts you into that breakout range and a possible retest all the way up here to 15. So those are the few that I'm looking at this week. Obviously, I think I charted a whole bunch of other ones on Twitter. For those of you guys that do follow me on Twitter, and obviously for those of you guys that don't follow me, it's at ICEMAN Trading. But I do provide a lot of charts and a lot of insights during the week, and I do hope that some of those can be helpful to you guys. Have a good week.